So if you didn't know, my main channel Mysterious Weeb received 5 strikes, all for my Kengan Omega chapter reviews for using artwork. While working on fixing this issue, I'll be uploading here on my new second channel, and if I fail in getting the strikes removed, this will become my new main channel as Mysterious Weeb will be deleted by YouTube. For more information, check out my community post I made on Mysterious Weeb, but for now, enjoy today's what if battle of Kure Raian vs Kiryu Setsuna while subscribing and joining the Discord, of course. Let's go. As always, I'll be doing 2 what if battles, one during the Kengan Ashura Annihilation Tournament time span, and then one during the current chapter Kengan Omega time span, with the Kengan Omega one being more prediction based than what the Kengan Ashura one will be. And of course, I'll start with the going over each of the characters' abilities and so on. So first up, we have Kure Raian, the Devil. Current age in Omega is 23. His Kengan wins is 1 Kengan win in the first round against Rumsen and 1 Kengan loss, which was due to the second round against Tokita Oma. Now to talk about his power and ability. So since a young age, he was gifted with an extreme amount of physical strength. This is due to his heritage, which had given him an extremely rare genetic mutation at an early age, and it was far above the normal Kure clan member, and he takes full advantage of this genetic mutation with his fighting style being very ferocious and this straight to the punches going insane somewhat. His punches are also said to be extremely heavy and powerful, and pretty much in terms of sheer punch strength, according to Tokita Oma, was only outclassed by Wakatsuki's punches. As we know, his normal punch is as strong as someone's final move punch. So being compared to someone like that is a big positive for our boy Kure Raian. He is also shown to be incredibly durable throughout the fight, only suffering somewhat no damage throughout his first fight against Rumsen. He was somewhat injured, had a little bit of blood but no real damage, and he could absorb an extreme amount of punishment from Tokita Oma during their brawl of a match they had where they had the Vance verse removal. I'll talk about the Vance soon and everything that had given him. And then later on, when he helped out during the coup d'etat, it showed he was full health after losing against Tokita Oma, having a bloodbath of a fight, and you'll still find full health after that, going out and fucking people up throughout the rest of the story after that with the rest of his fights. So for his rare genetic heritage, the Kure clan, they do inbreeding, and the breeding they do is based around making the perfect fighter and how they incorporate many masters of various martial arts into the Kure clan in the hope of making the perfect fighter. And in some ways, Raian is this perfect fighter and the pinnacle of the Kure clan's inbreeding that they have done. So as a Kure clan member, Raian is a powerful martial artist who has mastered a wide range of Japanese martial arts techniques that are being incorporated and known as Kure clan techniques. However, he didn't use any of these during the Kengan Annihilation Tournament. His first showing of using these is during Kengan Omega, so I won't be considering any of those during the Annihilation Tournament fight against Kiryu, apart from the secret technique removal. It's also assumed that many of the other Kure clan members like to pretty much use their mind during the fight and take fights very serious, while Kure Raian wants to pretty much go for a brawl, and he's considered somewhat of a black sheep to the rest of the clan, and this could be because of his overwhelming and extreme power that he has over many of the other Kure clan members. He also believed that no one can dominate him with pure physical strength, while we know Wakatsuki can actually dominate him in physical strength by Oma's statement. And it's also good to note, prior to the second round, Kano Gito stated that 2 people bested Wakatsuki in terms of fighting, and one of those people was Kure Raian alongside Julius. Even though Wakatsuki was able to defeat Julius in the next round, it's still good to know that Kano Gito saw the power that Kure Raian has and noted him as someone who can rival or best the likes of Wakatsuki. The only way of fighter we saw him use during the Annihilation Tournament was a pretty much brawler, brute force type of thing, using his strength and his superior genetics somewhat to win the fights instead of using any real technique or moveset to win the fight. And in Kengan Omega, when I consider that, so over the 2 years, he's most likely been training a lot and has shown to become more mature and what's somewhat less insane, even though he still has his insane greatness, which makes him a great character, but he became more insane and he's shown awareness of using Kure clan techniques. It was stated by him during the manga that he was rusty with Kure clan techniques, which may be a reason why he doesn't go on them, but most definitely during the last 2 year time skip from Ashura to Omega, he has developed these skills much more and has honed them to a utmost degree. And as a whole, he's probably gotten stronger and faster over the 2 years, because it's pretty much implied, or not 100% stated, but implied that over the last 2 years he's been training alongside Tokita Oma and training together, probably sparring together most days, so them pretty much developing at an equal rate. And based on how their conversations have been shown during Omega, he seems to be on the same level of the current Tokita Oma. Now to talk about his 2 techniques that he has used. So the one Kure Clan technique that he's used in Omega goes by the name Lion Bite, where he was able to pretty much snap the heads of multiple word members with absolute ease without anyone really understanding what's going on, and they'll just drop dead in an instant like that. It's a pretty much 2 insta-kill technique. And then his ultimate secret technique, the removal, which is somewhat similar and much better than Tokita Oma's advance. Raian is able to access 100% of his latent power with no known drawback. More than any other member of the Kure Clan's generation, this is where his mutation or supreme Kure Clan fighter comes into play. He pretty much uses the removal to match Oma's advance, and then with it having no drawbacks, we could consider it better than Oma's advance, and with it being 100% of his latent power, he can access much more of his true potential than many or all of the other fighters in the Annihilation tournament, and with him having the 100% removal being the highest of the Kure Clan by about 15%, with the second highest being Kure Kala. So that's it for our boy Kure Raian about his power and abilities. Now to talk about Kiryu Setsuna, also known as the Beautiful Beast. His current age is 26, his Kengan wins is 2, 1 win prior to the Annihilation tournament and 1 win in the first round against Kure Raian, and it was defeated in the second round by the hand of Kuroki Gensai, the Almighty Beard. During his fight against Kure Raian, he was able to tank his most devastating and damaging attack, and this was thanks to his Fallen Demon technique, which I'll talk more about later on. And then with his fight against Kuroki Gensai, he was able to make Kuroki Gensai sacrifice one of his arms, and for Kuroki Gensai to get Sirius to actually win the fight. One of the best fights in the series, and really had shown how much power and talent Kiryu had, with his techniques being somewhat hacks, which I'll talk about now. So his power and abilities, Kiryu is shown to take out many people with absolute ease. He's even able to defeat 2 bodyguards with his strength alone without even using any real martial arts to help him for that. And he was also involved a lot throughout Tokita Oma's past, with him being trained by another person who called himself the real Tokita Oma, or no, not the real Nico, I mean, not Tokita Oma, the real Nico. Kiryu is able to use 2 different types of martial arts. First one known as the Kuro style, and the second one known as the Nico style, the same one that our boy Tokita Oma uses. For the Kuro style, he was able to learn 2 techniques before he eventually killed his master, the person who had taught him these 2 techniques. And the master of the Kuro style was someone who was known and respected by Kuroki Gensai, and this was the main reason why Kuroki Gensai went into full power or became a lot more serious during the middle part of the fight and wanted to take revenge by taking out Kiryu Setsuna, and that was his second master after his previous master. The first technique he was able to learn goes by the name of Blink, which goes into his extreme speed, of him being one of the fastest characters in the Kengan Annihilation tournament and the Kengan verse as a whole. This blink is the ability to quickly move or attack when the character blinks with their eye, allowing him to get into positions that they pretty much weren't able to foresee and get a somewhat of a sneak attack. And his other attack goes by the name of Rakashasha's Palm, which is probably one of the most hacks ability in the whole Kengan verse. He was able to take out Kure Raian with just hitting 2 of these Rakashasha Palms on this, and he was able to damage Kuroki Gensai severely with this as well. The ability of the Rakashasha Palm is a twisting motion, with him being able to enhance this Rakashasha Palm, with him being able to advance the Koe style and make it more superior than what it was prior to him learning it, with him being able to embedment the basic skills and release more of the inner potential of the Koe style, making it somewhat his own thing that he pretty much only advanced and made better than what it initially was. He was able to twist his wrist a total of 360 degrees to do a large amount of damage to opponent, and as a whole I don't think many people in the whole Kengan Annihilation tournament will be able to tank more than 3 blows of this. I could only name about 2 people who will be able to tank more than 3 blows, and that is our boy Wakatsuki and Joyce, probably the only 2 fighters who will be able to tank more than 3 of these blows. You could argue Segabahashi and Kono, but as a whole there's not very many people who will be able to tank more than 3 blows of this, and I think the same for for Kure Raian with him being able to tank. At most, you could argue 3, but 4 after that 100% to death. And he likes to combine this with his blink technique to get a surprise and high damage attack on his opponents. And as I mentioned before, he's also able to use many aspects of the Nikko style. He's also able to combine the Nikko style with the Kure style to make more unique techniques to him. One of these name techniques that he's able to use goes by the name of mingling of the tiger and fox, but it is good to mention that he has only used this once, and that was against Kureki Gensai. This technique was the combination of the Rakashasha Palm and the Swimming Swallow from the Nikko style. He's able to use most stuff from the Nikko style, but not the special techniques such as the Demon's Bane and some other aspects of it. And he also has his own variation of the advance, which is known as Fallen Demon, which I'll talk about now. Before going over the Fallen Demon, it's good to mention that with the Nikko style, he's able to use many of the techniques, but you can't consider him having full mastery or the same level of mastery that someone like Tokita Oma has. He's just able to use somewhat of the basics of the Nikko style and implement it into his more mastered, refined Koei style. So for the Fallen Demon, it's the secondary secret technique of the Nikko style, demonstrated only by Kiryu throughout the series, and activates whenever Kiryu is in a critical or life-threatening situation. It allows him to react to his opponents more quickly, letting him dodge and counterattack where otherwise many of his opponent's attacks would land. However, this has extreme drawbacks on the pretty much health, with it creating many hallucinations of his devil, Tokita Nikko, and this goes into his whole biggest issue with his fighting, with his mental state being a big issue and him going absolutely insane and not knowing what's going on during many of the fights, which may go into the what if battle that I'll talk about now. Now onto the Annihilation Tournament what if battle. So as a whole, these two characters, Kiryu and Raian, are probably one of the most, or some of the most insane and mentally deranged characters when it comes to fighting in the Kengan verse, and these two crazy motherfuckers going at each other in the Annihilation Tournament. So you have to remember, for Kure Raian during the Annihilation Tournament, he didn't use any Kure clan techniques, so I won't be considering him using any of those during the Ashura battle, but I will be considering those during the Omega battle. A good comparison for these two is Tokita Oma, where they both had fought Tokita Oma during the Kengan Ashura time span, but the biggest issue is the point in time where they fought against Tokita Oma. For Kure Raian, his fight against Tokita Oma was prior to him getting all his memories back and understanding everything about the Nikko style and fulfilling all the power when it comes to that. And once he had gained his memories back, I could clearly say that Tokita Oma was far above both Kiryu and Kure Raian. When Kiryu faced Tokita Oma, this is when he had already received his memories back, and it was also after Kiryu had just lost his fight against Kureki Gensai, and he had just taken out some bodyguards as well, and he was completely delusional, going and saying, seeing that Yamashita was Nikko, and just going absolutely insane, where Tokita Oma just had to put him down pretty much for being insane. Didn't really have the same level of efficiency or will to fight or ability to fight that he had during the earlier parts of the story. So if they were to fight each other, so if when it comes to speed, I'll happily give Kiryu the advantage with base to base speed. When Kure Raian uses his 100% removal as it increases his physical power and speed, I'll consider them equal when it comes to speed, with Kiryu using the advantage of the blink. But once Kiryu goes into Fallen Demon state, I'll give the advantage for speed back to Kiryu again. When it comes to technique, Kiryu clearly has the absolute advantage with his Rakashasha Palm, ability to use the Nikko style at a base level being far above Kure Raian's brawler type fighting style during the Annihilation Tournament. When it comes to raw power, I'm going to give the advantage to Kure Raian by quite a significant amount, with Kiryu mostly relying on his techniques to do any real damage to Kure Raian during this fight. So if they were to bout in Ashura time span, both at full health, both at their basic level, sane level that they were during the tournament, not completely off the rail to say, at a base level for them, which is, you know, miles above many of the other characters, but disregard that. So in my opinion, for Kiryu to win this fight, it would have to land 3 to 4 Rakashasha Palms. I'm going to give it to 4 Rakashasha Palms based on the insanity that Kure Raian is and his ability to tank damage and pretty much push throughout the fight, which would be much more than many other characters. So I'm going to give him 4 Rakashasha Palm tanks until he's dead or he completely loses. For Kiryu, he'll probably be able to survive about 3 direct punches from Kure Raian, but after that he'll probably enter Fallen Demon state, and probably 2 more, so about 5 punches that will 5 like direct punches would have to land on Kiryu for him to lose. So it's going to be 4 Rakshasa Palms against 5 punches to decide the winner of this fight. It'll start off with Kiryu having the speed advantage because Kure Raian isn't really the smartest fighter, especially during the Annihilation tournament, with him being very immature in the way he fights. He'll just want to brawl, but Kiryu will realize his strength isn't on the same level of Raian, so he'll be most likely avoiding using the blink to land, and this will allow Kiryu to land the first Rakshasa Palm on Kure Raian. This will hurt Kure Raian, which will be able to bring him to use the 100% removal. This is where the shock or Raian's 100% removal will shock Kiryu and allow him to land a pretty devastating blow on Kiryu, which will lead him to go into his Fallen Demon state. You could argue that one Kure Raian 100% removal punch will do the same amount of damage that the punch or the ultimate technique that Nikata Ren used against Kiryu did. So at this point, it's Kiryu with 1 direct hit on him landed, with him falling into the Fallen Demon state, and Kure Raian with 1 Rakshasa Palm on him, with him in 100% removal. At this point, Kiryu has the speed advantage again and will most likely be able to land 2 more Rakshasa Palms on Kure Raian, which will bring Kure Raian to about 90% damage and on the brink of losing the fight. At this point, Kure Raian will most likely get desperate, and he is shown throughout the series, such as against his fight against the Robinson, be able to use underhanding tactics such as using his blood to blind his opponent to go for attack. This is where Kure Raian will be getting desperate and lose any means necessary to win against Kiryu, where he'll do whatever under the hand track, throw his blood, anything else, throw some dirt, it's anything he could possibly think of to do some damage to Kiryu. He'll try that, and this will allow him to land another blow on Kiryu, but Kiryu will most likely be able to survive another blow, because my guess was 3 direct hits from Kure Raian to take out Kiryu, and this is at the point where Kiryu will be able to implement some Nico style techniques alongside Rakshasa Palm to land the final Rakshasa Palm on Kure Raian and defeat Kure Raian with about a 95% difficulty rate. So by saying that, I'll give the win to Kiryu in the Ashura state, but while considering that, it could easily go either way during Ashura, because it will be a high difficulty fight either way in my opinion, and you could very argue that Kure Raian will be able to land enough blows to take out Kiryu like that with absolute ease as well. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments on who would win in Ashura and how difficult it would be, and whether you agree or disagree with me. I'd love to hear your comments down below. And now onto an Omega fight. So we haven't seen Kiryu Setsuna in Omega. All we know about him is that he escaped from prison near the end of Ashura, and he hasn't been seen since the last 2 years in Omega. And for Kure Raian, we have seen him use 1 Kure clan technique, and him have knowledge of many others as well, with them most likely being one-shot KO moves, and him showing to be more mature and probably faster, stronger, as he's most likely been training alongside or with Takita Oma the past 2 years. So if Kengan Omega Kure Raian was to fade Ashura Kiryu, I would highly doubt that Kiryu would be able to really do anything against Kure Raian, and Kure Raian will most likely win about mid difficulty in that case. If it was Omega Raian versus Kiryu Setsuna from Ashura, it would be about the mid difficulty win for Kure Raian. I don't think many people would argue that, but if Kiryu Setsuna has developed a lot, this is where I'll go into more prediction based. You could argue that he's maybe worked on his Nico style, as the Nico style works pretty well against the Kure Raian techniques, and maybe he's advanced his Fallen Demon and ability to combine all of them into a more refined technique. And if he's more sane as well, this will give him a pretty big buff in terms of power and overall combat ability. But still, with the insanity of Kure techniques and him being this more mature and more tactical when it comes to fighting, I think Kure Raian will still be able to get the victory against Kiryu Setsuna. So that's my opinion on the what if battle between Kiryu and Raian from Ashura and Omega. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I hope you enjoyed. Subscribe, stay tuned for the next video, and that's it guys. Peace.